It's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Today, the boys show and tell. I don't want to see that, so we're going to talk car stuff. Jeff has his great oddball cars for under $10,000. Plus, we'll have the stories making automotive news headlines along with Conrad's Car Clinic. Straight ahead, this edition of the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars, King Konrad Delong. We need more Jeff Dziekan.
Yep.
I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us today. And are you aware of what today actually is?
This week, the birthday.
What?
The birthday.
I say what?
No.
Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home.
What was the date? September 3rd. It was the 3rd of September.
It's
the
also-
day I'll always remember.
It's also my wife's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Angela's birthday is September 3rd.
You betcha.
Well, I just
of a
thought
year
that-
of the past.
I just thought that I would mention
Happy
that.
birthday, Angela.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
And before we get into the history of the HEMI, which I think that we're going to do here,
We should have.
I did want to play one little thing here because this is
Another
important.
birthday this
I
week.
say, there she is, boy, all set. Now, where did that boy go?
Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah.
He had his, 80-some-odd birthday, 76th birthday this week. Yeah, I'm just a Foghorn Leghorn
Yeah.
fan.
Well, who isn't?
He was only in 52 cartoons. You know, you think of how long everybody's known him. He was only in 52 featured
I can make
cartoons.
off with a bait and nothing happens. I can jump over it and nothing happens.
The sound effects, the music, all of it.
And who did the voice?
That would be Mel Blanc.
Mel
Mel Blanc.
Yeah, and he did most of the voices on all of the Warner Brothers cartoons. He also did George Jetson. He did all Fred Flintstone. The originals.
Really?
Yes, originals. He sure did.
There is an episode of Perry Mason where they had a bird as a witness, and he did the voice of the bird.
Yeah.
We should get Angela some commemorative shot glasses from the.
I think that's
Get her a
what-
set.
Yeah, get her a set.
Well, I'll fill them up for her.
I know you will. By the way, if you missed it earlier in the show today, Jeff gave out some really nice merch that we're going to be offering on the website. Here it is. I don't know whether you
It's a
can
shot
see it.
glass with a lid on it.
And a little thing
So
on
you
the
don't
side
spill it.
that says
Glasses to go.
doctor's name,
So you don't spill
date of birth, all of the information from the Parter Medical Products.
Jeff stole them at his last doctor's visit.
No, I've had them a while.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a whole box of them?
No.
Well, that would be really good.
Yeah.
They're in the,
He's
they're
got
in the
if
In-Wheel
you would
Time
like to-
store.
if you
Got a
would-
set of 6, so when you have guests over for dinner,
You need,
right.
about, you need about 30 of them and do Jello shots. Yellow Jello
shots, that's right.
Yellow
Lemon.
with a little dab, but no, I won't.
Little devil, do you?
Oh, Lord. What is it, Mars? When Mars puts his hand to
I
his
know.
head,
You're all in
He's
trouble. Well,
embarrassed.
no, I'm thinking, lemon drops and all kinds of things. you
yeah,
can do.
that's it. Lemon drops. Hi there. Would you like to have a lemon drop Jello shot?
did you know racing is the best way to convert money into noise?
Ooh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why are you changing the subject?
Because I
Just
can.
because.
Straight roads are for fast cars. Turns are for fast drivers.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
And the one that I like, who said this? You win some, you lose some, you wreck some.
Who?
Dale Earnhardt.
I was just going to say Dale Earnhardt.
There you go.
The history of the hemispherical engine.
The early Hemis.
The early Hemis,
Some-
which started much earlier than I ever thought of.
So the development years of the Hemi actually started at Chrysler Corporation.
Yep.
Now, the Hemis was elsewhere in other manufacturers, but the hemispherical combustion chamber is basically a bowl or a dome, and the valves are on opposing sides with the spark plug in the middle. And the air flows through.
I wish you could see. Do it again.
And the air flows through quite well. So it does a real good job of air management and airflow. Like we've talked before, an engine is an air pump. The more air you can get in, the more fuel you can put in it, the louder you can make the bang. So the hemispherical combustion chambers were discussed, but 2 large valves were used as opposed to 4 small valves. Chrysler's first foray into the HEMI was a World War II fighter plane, which had been rigorously tested. They started design and R&D on this in 1940, and they didn't finalize it until 1945 by the time the war was over. It was a 2,500 horsepower HEMI,
Wow.
V16, liquid cooled, and it could run regardless of its axis rotation.
So it could be
Because
upside
like
down?
an airplane, it had to be able to
Okay.
run upside down at 90 degrees and such, so it was a dry sump oiling system on it. Well, because the federal government didn't buy it, the technology kind of sat for a couple of years. So they were finished with it in 1945, and then in the other auto manufacturers were using hemispherical engines in the early part of the 20th century. Most recognizable is Aston Martin, but Alfa Romeo, Porsche, Jaguar, Ford, Toyota, and others had sold engines with hemispherical combustion chambers. But Chrysler was the one who perfected the HEMI and used it to boost sales. The Aston Martin was a 5.3 liter, so 327 cubic inch V8 that put out 315 horsepower with Bosch fuel injection.
Wow.
Oh, Lord. Bosch fuel injection?
Pretty high-tech stuff.
Yeah.
Chrysler engineers adapted the concepts they used in their wartime engine and was first released as a 331 Chrysler Firepower line of V8s.
50 what? 1950 what?
1951.
Okay.
They were the first HEMI engines, but Chrysler didn't call it a HEMI engine in its advertising. The second round of Firepower engines was called the DeSoto Fire Dome engine.
Yes, I remember
and that was
that.
1952.
Okay.
And then in 53, Dodge Red Ram was the third generation, and they all kind of changed size and cubic inches and stuff.
And then Don Garlett's got a hold of it.
And in the 392, I think, was the original where he started building HEMIs. But Chrysler produced a 350 horsepower, 392 cubic inch HEMI engine as well. They were used for years in drag racing and in hot rodding. And then in 1964, Chrysler had an ace up its sleeve for NASCAR competition, and it released the HEMI-headed combination 426 race engine, and that's what they called it, with the race engine. The engines were so dominant out of the box, Richard Petty won the Daytona 500 and the championship that year.
Did they put them in any production cars?
No.
But that was
And that
the
became
reason.
an issue.
Yeah.
And that became an issue. So in 1965, NASCAR banned that engine that didn't return until 66 when they built the street HEMI engine.
And that was the period of time when, you build on Sunday and sell on Monday.
Race on Sunday, sell on Monday.
And they also, you could buy the car out of the dealership. There was certain NASCAR rules that they had to live by.
Which started in 66, not in 64, or
Right.
65, but not in 64.
You had to have the production numbers.
You had to, it had to be
500.
it had to be homologated. Yeah, it had to be sold to the general public at some point.
And
so
when they stopped doing that, that's when things started going off the rails.
Yeah.
right. Well, but you think about back in the mid 60s or mid to late 60s. Think of all of the engines that were being released. Ford had the 427 low rise. High rise, they had the 427 overhead cam motor. Chevy released the mystery motor, the 427. What was it? The X11 or whatever it was. That Strickland ran.
Something like that.
Strickler ran drag racing. They had the 428s, the 429s.
Cobra Jets, yeah.
Pontiac had a 421 with 2 quad engines on it, so that 7-liter range was
2 quad
very,
carbs.
2 quad, yeah. That engine size, everybody was releasing these prototype engines. Chrysler just happened to get their HEMI in to win NASCAR that year. So the race engine was very dominant, and NASCAR banned it. So they came out in 1966 with the street HEMI and sold it to the public to meet NASCAR's requirements that the engines must be homologated to race. And that's pretty much history from there, is that the HEMI street engine went through 72 or 73, I don't remember, I think 73, and then went out of production for 20 years. It didn't come back again until the 90s at different displacements. I think came back at a 5.7 liter. But the HEMI was a very dominant engine in its day and was brought into drag racing. And to this day, that is still the architecture of today's top fuel engines, is the hemispherical combustion chamber from Chrysler, though highly modified.
Neat.
Well, and with that, when guys started going into those Hemis and bumping up the power, remember they also had domed pistons that had cuts in the top of the pistons to clear the valves. Right. I mean, everybody's tried to always come up with something new and different to add more power to it, increase the compression ratio, and do all of the things that needed to be done, and increase the sizes of the valves. I mean, those things are massive in those heads.
They were in the original HEMI. Now in the top fuel stuff, they're even bigger than they were in the original HEMI.
Yeah, I mean, when you shove all that air and all that fuel in there, it's got to be able to get it in and out of that cylinder. And it's like 2
garden hoses spraying fuel in there.
Garden hoses.
Yeah.
Yeah, the amount of fuel that goes through those things. And when we say fuel, use that loosely because it's really not fuel in the typical traditional
combustible,
because nitromethane won't ignite by itself.
No,
correct.
It's not flammable, but under compression it ignites.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
A lot of compression, and you strike a match to that thing. Oh, I mean that's pretty much what they're doing, and it's pretty remarkable actually just to hear the darn thing. I read a story and I was looking for it here and I can't find it right now, but it was a story about the health of the NHRA, and the story was that it appears as though that there has been talks for quite some time to say goodbye to Pomona.
Yeah.
No.
That's what he said.
And the issue at hand is where it's held. It's at the Los Angeles County Fairgrounds. Well, if you go back in history to the LA County Fairgrounds, it sat way outside of the city, and it really was nothing around it, and it was a perfect spot for Wally Parks to get going with the drag racing. Well, a couple of things have taken place in all of the years. First of all is the speeds of the cars and the growth of the area around it, and apparently the popularity of these county fairs has continued to shrink. So has the actual attendance at NHRA events. I mean, you're going to look today, and you'll see in Indianapolis lots of places for you to sit. And
I've been to Indy.
I have too.
And it was wall-to-wall packed. There was no place to sit.
It's not that way anymore.
Yeah, will it be like that this weekend?
No.
And I have a feeling that we're seeing a slow death of NHRA drag racing, and the fact that, let's face it, that all of the drag racers, the sportsman guys, guys that are our age, we're all dying off. And the kids are not coming up behind us to take that over. And so the sportsman class continues to shrink as well. And the way that the sport has evolved, it doesn't really pertain to what you see on television today. Plus the price. The cost of a top fuel team, millions and millions of dollars to go down that track at 330 miles an hour.
Yep.
That requires all those sponsors.
When I worked for Joe Amato, he said if you want to make $10 million in drag racing, start with 20.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I saw a man blow through his life savings of $65 million, and the top fuel team actually imploded for lack of funds and lack of sponsorship.
But
it wasn't because that the guy didn't win. He did. Made it all the way to the finals in Pomona and almost came that close to winning the championship and didn't, and still couldn't get a sponsor.
Wow.
It's very, very tough.
Well, look at Tony Schumacher. How many years was he out of Top Fuel Racing because he didn't have a primary sponsor? When Army pulled out, Tony Schumacher parked.
Right.
And his dad owns the team.
Yeah. Owned the team.
Well, yeah,
doesn't anymore. I think that Mr.
Schumacher
Schumacher is done with drag racing. I mean, Tony Stewart's stepped up, but he's got millions and millions of dollars to do it, and he's got the connections.
He's got
with
lots
sponsors
of sponsorships, right?
that he can pull from to make it work for his. Is it his bride, or did they get married?
Leah Pruitt.
Yeah, I think they got married.
And Matt Hagen.
And that's their offspring.
No, that's the Hulk.
Oh, yeah.
Oh gosh, you look at Matt Hagen walking through the pits, and literally next to anybody else, he's just so buff and so built. He just looks like the Hulk.
Well, they own
seems odd
a
to
ranch.
me.
They own a beef ranch, a steers or something, cattle ranch. He owns.
It just seems odd to me
Thousands of
that
acres.
big in a funny car, because I think the driver.
How do you fit in it?
Yeah. Well,
But you know, weight
cage.
really doesn't have a whole lot to do with it for the driver in that particular form
Is it
of
total weight
racing.
including driver?
I think it is.
Yeah,
Okay, so they just adjust the weight somewhere else.
but it doesn't make, as far as power, they've got more power than they could ever get to the ground. It's managing the power in a Top Fuel dragster.
It's always the problem.
It's always about the clutch.
Traction.
Yeah.
And then who knows whether they're going to go NHRA electric?
Yeah,
Well,
they're
they
already
are-
doing
they're
experiments.
already
yeah,
doing
they're
it.
dabbling in it, but will it be
Not
that way?
experimental. What do they
I
call
think
it?
that the new
Exhibition.
form of racing is, the kids with their
Drifting.
and pocket rockets and all of the stuff.
Front
that they-
wheel drive things.
Yeah, that
Eh.
like David's son is into all that stuff with the Nissan Zs and all of the
Hondas
Infiniti
and,
and G37s and that sort of stuff. And I think that that's pretty much the popularity these days. And they don't care anything about Corvettes or any of the traditional hot rods. I just don't think that they do. I mean, there are a few. Don't get me wrong. There are some exceptions, but it's very
And
few
that's why
far
the
between.
declining NASCAR and NHRA audience.
Yeah, and dirt track, circle track, asphalt racing. I mean, where Gina has taken that circle track over to Alabama, it's still popular over there. Matter of fact, there's plenty of very healthy tracks, half-mile, 3/8 mile asphalt tracks over there that compete against each other in a way. Because they've got their own set of rules and that sort of stuff. Gina's trying to make
Organize them.
Yeah, and so the rules are more uniform throughout that series of whatever car
That way
class it
drivers
is.
can move between tracks
Yeah.
easier.
Well,
Yeah.
she's figuring out their network. It's
Yeah.
a network of drivers and racers, and she's corralling them.
But, I mean, it's not that popular here.
Nope.
Yeah. Used to, we had dirt tracks and all kinds of tracks around here every Friday and Saturday night, and sometimes on Sunday. Very few now.
Yeah. I guess Jeff has done his awards presentation early,
Yeah, we did.
and I appreciate that. By the way, speaking of drag racing, guess who is going to be on the dais for the television broadcast? Legendary championship winning race car driver and team owner Tony Stewart headed to the Fox broadcast booth for this weekend's prestigious Dodge Power Brokers NHRA U.S. Nationals at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park, which, by the way, is owned by NHRA. So if you're into that and want to see dying sport, be sure and tune in. Let's see, 1 to 3 o'clock, that'd be Eastern time, so it'd be noon to 2 on Sunday, tomorrow.
Qualifying.
And then they're going to have the NHRA All-Star Funny Car Call-Out from 3 to 4:30. And then qualifying will continue 4:30 to 6 on Sunday on FS1. Live coverage, eliminations begins at 11 a.m. on FS1 on Monday, and then continues on Fox from 1 to 4.
Can be kind of tough doing live coverage at an NHRA event because an oil down makes it a long day.
It really does.
Is Tony replacing someone there in the
Probably
commentary
not.
booth, or just adding?
I think
just
just
adding.
because Tony Pedregon
Yeah,
is
I was gonna say-
his sidekick.
Yeah.
Brian Loans does the play-by-play.
Right.
And they're a great team.
I like listening to Pendergrass. He's a wealth of knowledge from somebody who's
Very smart guy,
Done it.
articulate.
Right.
Depending on which Petragon you're listening to.
Well, Cruz, that's a whole nother. His
And there's
brother
another one,
Cruz.
too. There's three brothers.
Yes, but the other brother hasn't raced in quite a long time.
Cruz,
well,
Tony,
it
and
all came from Dad.
Yeah.
Because Dad was a funny car driver.
Cruz-
Driver, tuner, or both.
what's the third brother's name?
Frank. Not.
Frank Petragon, that's
Yeah.
right.
I think Frank was the dad.
I was going to say that's the dad.
But there's also a son. named
Another
Frank.
son. Maybe so. I don't know.
His
And
other
his
brother,
two
Darryl.
sisters, and he's got an aunt And
Oddball cars under $10,000.
yeah.
Oddball cars. Well, there's plenty of those out there.
Yep. It's not because the beauty that grabs the attention in the automotive world, but also the novelty and rarity are currently available for under 10 grand.
Rarity.
I didn't write that. Okay, so.
But you thought it.
Oh. Hold on, Conrad, for crying
Well, you
out
were
loud.
about to talk about the first one, so I've
That's
just
not the
posted
first one. Michael? What? They're out in order. What?
Well,
all right.
read them in order.
Just whatever. Just read it, because remember, this is a radio program.
Number 10, Nissan Pulsar NX Sportback, 1986 to 1990. Nissan's largely forgotten Pulsar NX Sportback is a classic example of an idea that looks great on paper, but non-translating into the real world. Number 9 is the Subaru SVX, 1991 through 1996. Subaru's quirky image traces back to cars like the eccentric and ambitious SVX coupe.
That thing was a little squared off, ugly thing.
Yeah. The Japanese company's first dip into the luxury performance niche. So that was the Subaru.
Dip niche.
Dip niche. Yeah, like you dip.
Or
dip,
niche dip.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Dip.
He's a real dip niche.
There you go. So number 8, Sebring Vanguard City Car, 1974 through 1977. Appeared at a time of giant American automobiles and famously unstable oil prices, Conrad. Supremely Spartan electric city car was a knee-jerk reaction on wheels.
That was that little wedge-looking thing.
Yep. Number 7 is the Isuzu Viacross, 1997 through 2001.
I remember that.
Isuzu's intentionally limited production of its Viacross compact SUV to fewer than 6,000 between 1997 and 2000.
Because they could only sell 4,000 of
I
them.
know, they had to push them in a lot. The brand sold more than 2/3 of these in the United States during the latter half of that period.
Ugh.
So they're normally a few for sale with only very cleanest examples around 10 grand. So if you can
But
find
there's a
one
couple of Subarus on your list, isn't there?
yeah, we're getting there. So number 6 was the Pontiac Aztek, Don's favorite.
The ugliest vehicle ever built.
And, you know, General Motors realized it, but they continued to build the thing. They didn't sell very many of them because it was so damned ugly.
Do you know who the designer was?
Who?
Ed Welburn.
No.
Yep.
Wow.
Think of some of the beautiful things he's done. Ed Welburn ran the program.
And who gave the green flag to that
He had
ugly
an off day.
monstrosity?
He had an off day.
I don't know, but that was the ugliest thing GM ever built.
Oh, wait, it gets better. The mid-sized Pontiac Aztek crossover has become almost synonymous with automotive folly. The controversy revolved
Folly.
almost solely around its aggressive but seemingly haphazard exterior styling. Listen to this. While intended to signal a design renaissance for General Motors, it failed.
Miserably.
Pulitzer Prize-winning automotive critic Dan Neal compared the Aztek to something that dogs bark at. I thought it was great. I had to keep it in there.
Did you hear that, Suze?
Number
down
5 is the AMC Pacer, 1975 through 79. The compact yet bulbous AMC Pacer is perhaps best known as the baby blue Mirthmobile in 1992 comedy's Wayne's World.
Mirthmobile.
Yep.
Love
The
it.
association is only added to the Pacer's semi-joke status, but upon release in 1975, its rounded shape and wide stance were bold statements in an era of boring three-box designs.
And the driver's door was substantially longer than the passenger's door to make it easy to get in the back seat.
Yep. Volkswagen is number 4. It's the Volkswagen Thing, 1968 to 1983.
I like the
Kabriolet wagon or something like that.
But you know what? It was odd when it came out, and there's no doubt about it. Now, I'm sure that they didn't sell as many as they'd planned. But now,
Well, that's a
if
pretty
you
good
can
run.
find one
quite
that isn't
collectible.
rusted all the way through,
68 through 83, that's a pretty good run for that little
it
50
kid
is,
car.
but how
yeah.
many did they sell is the bottom
Well,
line.
that's another thing. Originally developed for the West German Army, the VW Type 181 was marked as the Thing in the U.S. The VW Thing ostensibly resembles the World War II era Kuba wagon, Seen in many war movies.
With Hitler in the back.
Yeah, it's a utilitarian four-door convertible with removable doors and fold-down windshield. It uses mechanicals common to the VW Classic Beetle and Microbus.
Yep.
The thing was intended as a leisure-focused dune buggy on a budget for the American buyers.
Now, good luck in finding one that's together and worth 10 grand.
Yep. Number 3 is the Suzuki X90, 95 through 97. So a short little run for that baby.
That was another teeny tiny car.
The ability of the Suzuki X90 to turn heads is underlined by its widespread use as advertising vehicle for Red Bull energy drinks. They mounted it on the trunk or something. They put the Red Bull
can on it.
Yeah. Though billed as a two-seater SUV, the X90 more closely resembles something that might go round and round on a
Ferris wheel.
Yeah, fairground. Number 2 is the Nissan Murano Cross Cabriolet.
Oh, that's Don's favorite.
2011.
I want you to know that I had
It
one.
had to be in teal.
It was teal, and it had the beige interior, and you put the top back. And matter of fact, I went to have dinner with somebody, and
Wasn't
I
me.
pulled
A
into the
parade
parking
car.
a parade car. I pulled into the parking lot, and they were all standing out there waiting for me. And I went, "Hi!"
And they all turned around and
Here
went
I
back
am.
inside.
They did. They
Upon-
abandoned me in the parking lot.
Upon unveiling its Murano Cross Cabriolet at the 2010...
We used to call it we used to call it the Nissan Crossdresser.
2010 Los Angeles International Auto Show. Nissan declared it world's first all-wheel drive crossover convertible.
God.
But did anyone really
And
ask for
last one.
such a subcategory in the first place? Judging by the brevity of the Cross Cabriolet's 3-year production run, the answer from the drivers was resounding
No.
Number 1, Subaru Brat. This little cream puff went from 1978 to 1994, while its Brat name in North America stood for rather tongue-twisting, here we go, write this down, Mike, Buy, Drive, Recreational All-Terrain Transporter. That's what Brat stands for. This charismatic little subby.
By, does that mean like
By drive.
B-I dash?
dash drive.
By
Goes
drive.
two ways.
Yep. Commonly recognized as a four-wheel drive coupe utility, aside from the optional T-tops and the wonderfully period-piece target stripes, often adorned the Brat's main talking point is a pair of rear-facing jump seats. Check this out. In 1996, the U.S. and Canada models only these jump seats were welded into the cargo area and directly behind the cab. So they were non-adjustable.
And they had handles on the sides of them that you could hold on to so you didn't get pitched off the back of the truck.
And you know, when he was reading that story, you kept looking at me and I kept looking at you. What exactly does that mean? I'm trying to understand all of that.
I like you, Don.
Means the rest of us don't want to know.
He's back to the Nissan Murano.
The Brat. Well, and the Brat. They both have their unique.
But I found it unique that they
uniqueness.
welded it into the floor rather than making it adjustable.
I thought another one would have been the Subaru SVX, which was the weirdest.
Oh, yeah.
thing.
Well, these are 10. It's probably like a 12. It could have been a 12.
The In Real Time Car Show streams on iHeart, the iHeart Radio app, Facebook, YouTube, and InRealTime.com. Podcasts are available from your favorite podcast channel. In Real Time Car Talk Show continues right after this quick break.
Get out the permanent marker and write on your wall calendar the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In, Saturday, September 17th, 2022. It's the fall edition of Tailpipes and Tacos at the Lupi Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m. It's the only place cruisers compete for Lupi's Chili Pepper trophies and other prizes. There's no charge to enter your vehicle for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, or Best Modern Classic. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest and most unique cruise-in and is your opportunity to see the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods, and get Lupi Tortilla breakfast tacos with adult beverages. There's no entry fee, and cars will automatically compete for those much sought-after custom Lupi trophies and other prizes. It happens at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. It's Tailpipes and Tacos Fall Edition, Saturday, September 17th. The In Real Time Car Talk Show will be there too. Celebrate the beginning of fall and the return of the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In, Saturday morning, September 17th, 8 to 11 a.m. We'll see you then, weather permitting. Want to take a minute to tell you about Gulf Coast Auto Shield, a Houston detail company like no other. Gulf Coast Auto Shield offers paint correction services that'll give your car, truck, or SUV a like-new shine. Afterwards, you want to protect it with a professionally installed nano-ceramic coating or protection film. Worried about your very expensive windshield getting damaged, broken, or cracked? Let Gulf Coast Auto Shield install ExoShield, a windshield protection film. Give John Gray a call today or check out their website, gcautoshield.com. Hey, whether you own a new, ultra-expensive, exotic, or a 5-year-old Suburban, Gulf Coast Auto Shield will help keep your investment looking like the day it rolled off the assembly line. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is conveniently located on the South Sam Houston Parkway, just south of I-69, the Southwest Freeway. Meet the staff and check out all of their services online right now at gcautoshield.com.